Hello, everyone. My name is Ian Rowe.
And I'm Nique yours.
And welcome to The Invisible Men, where we make the achievements of incredible men invisible no more. Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of The Invisible Men. My name is Ian Rowe, a resident fellow at the American Enterprise Institute.
I'm Nique yours, a member of the Leadership Network at AEI.
Great to see you, Nique. And as our viewers know, The Invisible Men is all about demystifying Black excellence, introducing men that you may not have seen but have been doing amazing work in their communities, in their businesses. And we're really excited today to see an old friend, Myron White. Hey, Myron, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, Ian? Hi, Nique.
Hey, brother.
It's a pleasure.
It is a pleasure.
I'll revisit our old Invisible Man.
Oh, look at that. Myron White, who was part of the original crew of The Invisible Men almost 30 years ago. You were in that video with us.
I was. It was an honor. Seriously, it was very much an honor, and got a lot of flack for leaving class to participate. I remember I left corporate restructuring, and Steve Fenster, he made it seem like World War II, but I said this is important.
All right. Well, you see that? Whatever you could have learned in that moment, what you imparted as being part of The Invisible Men it is more significant. So thank you for making that decision.
Far exceeded that one day of learning.
Yes. So Myron, it's so great to see you. You've had quite a career since we were all together at Harvard Business School. You've been in finance, you've done entrepreneurial work, you got your PhD in organizational leadership. As you were then, you're kind of a Renaissance man, but something that you've done, which is truly extraordinary and that we are all thankful for, is that you were in the military for 26 years, deployed in Iraq, Kuwait, Bosnia, the United Arab Emirates. Thank you. Thank you for your extraordinary service.
You're welcome, and it's an honor. It was an honor to serve. You know, if you look at some of, my idol Denzel Washington, a lot of his films, you can glean a lot of the experiences that he takes in movies like The Equalizer and his Courage Under Fire. Some of those movies, he plays a pretty significant role about what it means to serve with honor and character and dignity.
Wow, to serve with honor. Oh, Myron, thank you. I can't wait to get into our conversation. And I'm about to ask you the first question, but just to give our viewers a preview, as you know, at the end of each episode, we ask our guest to provide advice to Darryl, our imaginary 16-year-old who lives in forgotten USA. But Myron has actually invited his own real-life Darryl, who will join us in a few minutes, so we can't wait for that. So Myron, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us what happened in the early version of Myron when you were still sort of crafting your own view of the world.
Yeah, so thanks guys. Thanks for having me. It's truly an honor and a reunion to talk to you all. So I looked at Troy and Cliff's podcast, and I gleaned a little bit from that. I went to Catholic school as well, just like them. Came from an urban background. I know Troy talks about zip codes. My zip code was 70121 in New Orleans, Louisiana. So my neighborhood had very few non-African Americans, but my school was very mixed, a parochial Catholic school. And I'll never forget my first grade. I went to first grade. I didn't go to kindergarten because my mom wanted to save on tuition. You could get a discount if all four of your kids were in first to eighth grade. So I had three sisters. And my teacher, Miss Diane Smallpage, and I dedicated my dissertation, part of it, to her. She told me when I was just a young African-American male, the only African-American male in her class, she said, you can be whatever you want to be. And I will never forget her saying that, because Miss Smallpage didn't have to be a teacher. Our school was Catholic. We had a lot of nuns, had very few non teachers. And, she was pretty wealthy. So she lived in the French Quarter, heart of New Orleans, where all the money was. And she took us on a field trip to Audubon Park and to the French Quarter as a first grader. And she had a pool, and she had servants who gave us lunch. And, I was like, wow, she spends her time teaching, and she doesn't even have to work. But what she imparted in me was a sense of confidence and a sense of belief in myself, no matter what neighborhood I came from, no matter what I went home to, I could do whatever I wanted. So I really have to thank her. And, 40 years later, when I actually finished my PhD, I still remember that message that Ms. Smallpage gave me. So,
wow. Is she still with us?
I'm not sure. I've not found her. We've been searching for her. One of my friends lives in Austin, Texas. She used to work for Merrill Lynch, and we both were kind of co-valedictorians of our class. We've been looking for her just to say thank you, but I'm not sure if she's still alive. But we definitely remember her because everybody in that class felt important and special. And for me, being African American and the only male, so we had two females and me, being the only African American male, it meant a lot for her to not ostracize me and really make it all one even playing field. So from that day, I started my journey.
All right. So after this episode is done, we're going to try and find Miss Smallpage.
Diane.
Either her or Diane Smallpage, either her or her family, just to know. Because I remember I had a great teacher, Miss Talish, Linda Talish, in 6th grade. And she, I had very strong parents and I felt very blessed, but she saw something in me, and I tracked her down many years later to let her know the impact that she had on my life. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you can find her, I have her picture. I'll send it to you. But we have been searching for 10 years to try to find her. I think actually one of my classmates, I think, is a senator. So, we have really kind of searched for her and her real appreciation for learning and for nurturing kids. She was pretty amazing. And she only taught that 1 year. So I feel blessed that, God shined down on me to have all of us to have her for that one and only year that she taught. So after that, she left.
I mean, Ian, there's so much there. I go back to your Teach for America experience, right? And getting, highly passionate, motivated young people into the teaching system. I mean, look at what this lady did for Myron and so many of those other children. It's, we won't go on a path along, school choice and the importance of creating that sort of competitive energy to hopefully improve the education. But what a compelling story, again, about what one individual can do for a young child. It's really powerful.
Yeah, Ian was Mr. Teach for America. He was so multifaceted. I was like, does he sleep?
I'm a traditional Jamaican. I have 7 jobs, man.
Don't ask him to list his jobs now, because that'll fill up the rest of this conversation.
Oh man, for our viewers who were watching in living color back in the day, the Jamaican family. Why? Oh, I have 7 jobs. What? You only have 7 jobs? You must have 10 jobs.
I was literally watching episodes of that about 4 months ago and just laughing. Because there's one where they compete with the Korean family next door.
Right, exactly.
At the fruit stand, and they're sort of compete. Oh my God! But it's an important.
It's funny. Sometimes stereotypes actually apply.
That's right.
Anyway, so Myron, so and then what made you then make the decision to go into the military? I mean, here you were this corporate guy. You were having these interesting experiences. You were at KPMG, you were at big companies, and yet you were also, in some ways, putting yourself in harm's way. How did you think about that?
So, for those who didn't know, I actually was an athlete growing up. I played 4 sports and had a lot of MVP trophies. Again, I have to credit a lot of it to Miss Smallpage and that early confidence building, because I was really small. And if you remember at HBS, we won the the basketball championship at Shad.
Yeah,
So,
that's right.
So for me,
Didn't I beat you once?
What'd you say?
Didn't I beat you once?
No. Now Orville did. Now Orville Bailey, definitely is probably the only one. But
okay, all right.
But you're still my friend. But that's not your skill set. But being, I came to HBS on the corporate management program, but I quickly found out my second year, I knew I had grown, but I didn't realize how much I had grown. So when I was and I was shocked even then because, my first year I remember I didn't get very many internship offers at all. And I had to take the last ones that, that were folks considered the bottom of the barrel. I went to work for Amico for the summer, even though I could have gone back and worked for Lilly. But so I came out of my first year not really feeling too good about myself. I was like, I'm just average to below average. But I think, the Harvest experience, and then I was real active in the International Development Club when Invisible Men came out, and my grades were still, I was getting a lot of 1s and 2s my second year. Then I started getting offers from like McKinsey and Goldman Sachs and Merrill Lynch. And I was like, wow, this is pretty incredible. Like, I went from being somewhat a bottom feeder to, what people consider like the top offers. But, I had a little Kevin Garnett in me, and I felt loyal to the company that sponsored me, so I went back. But again, I felt like I had grown so much, and I should have just went on with a lot of those other offers. So when I cut corporate ties, I still had, everybody knows about that HBS student loan, and so I still had to find a way to pay for it. And so I had the corporate side, and the military was picking up my student loan debt. So I had to juggle both worlds. But I was still in shape. I was still the athlete, could do all the running and all that stuff. So I was just a weekend warrior. And KPMG, pretty much, they loved it. They loved the fact that, I could perform consulting during the week. And then just 1 weekend a month, I could do my little military time and pay off my student loan. Then I had children by that time. So it just kind of all worked out. And I was really fortunate. I was in a special forces unit, which means, our standards were so high that we never had to worry about, anybody in the Army questioning our ability to perform. So when we did get deployed, and, we were already like over prepared because we were special forces unit. So it just really was a blessing. I just kind of fell into a lot of these things, but I just, again, go back to that first grade experience, teaching me about confidence and not shying away from the hard tasks, the hard classes. I took a lot of hard classes at Purdue, which, everybody who went to Harvard knows that it's not like Purdue was on the radar. Besides Cash, he kind of broke the mold to bring more Midwestern students, the HBS. Everybody else was coming from NYU, Yale.
And actually, let's just educate our listeners. So you're referring to Dr. Jim Cash, who is the former chairman of the MBA program, probably the first tenured African American at Harvard Business School. And he did his PhD at Purdue, if I'm not mistaken?
He did his PhD in computer science at Purdue. So I always felt like he was a role model to me, even though I never met him. So when I gotten into Stanford, I remember Troy's Stanford Harvard comparison. I got into Stanford my junior year coming out of Purdue. So I already had that in my back pocket, and Professor Cash called me. He said, I was sitting at my desk, and he said, hey, I hear, you're making a decision. And I said, yeah, I already have Stanford in my back pocket, and I got in to Harvard. And he said, well, I don't take losing very lightly, so don't call me back unless you have the right answer. So I felt privileged and blessed, that one of my role models actually picked up the phone to call me, and so I was like, it's easy.
Who was also a great basketball player in college, if I remember correctly. He was I think a D1 basketball player, probably 6'7".
Yep, he played at TCU, and great person. We're trying to get him to come back and speak at our HBS Club of Charlotte. I actually met him at the Summer Venture Management Program in '89, so that was my first introduction to Harvard. It was a week program. Most of the students were HBCU students, trying to introduce us to the case method and coming to Harvard Business School. So that's when I first met him. And we all talk about his impression on us. And
incredible.
Young juniors in college, and we just kind of, some of us, I don't think many of us matriculated besides myself, but I definitely was always reminded of his leadership in not only at Purdue and not only when he played basketball for D1, but also, and I went to his retirement ceremony. It was beautiful. He cried, and we all cried, talking about his racial experiences. So we all know, no matter where you go, you still have those experiences that you have to deal with.
Very true. Yeah, no, he's an amazing man. I mean, he was a mentor to probably 500 people.
Right. He's still alive. He is.
Yeah, he is.
He is fair. Yeah, and I mean, specific to HBS, again, I think everyone thought he was their mentor. And in fact, he had 500 people that looked up to him and valued everything he said. Yeah, remarkable. But absolutely, I think he's a part owner in the Boston Celtics, and sat on Microsoft and Walmart's boards, I know, in the past. Not sure what he's doing exactly now, but yeah, exceptional. Well, so Myron, let's we have something we call the speed round, where we offer up a couple of individuals or philosophies and ask you to pick one and tell us why. So we often start the speed round with the classic Martin or Malcolm.
Even though Martin's my fraternity brother, and it's probably unpopular in the South Church League, I gotta go with Malcolm, because just recently, like I told Nique, I did a Black History Month program on Malcolm, and I believe that a lot of his sayings ring true today about loving ourselves, loving humanity, loving God. He was critical of Dr. King initially, but over time they kind of became friends and worked together. We did a lot of research on him in our PhD program, and how what he did kind of talked a little bit more about an aggressive approach to economic freedom. And quite sadly, Dr. King, in his nonviolent approach to civil rights, his life was ended by the violence that he preached against his whole life. So I got to go with Malcolm.
Very good. And you've done both. So corporate executive or entrepreneur?
So I want to say both, but I know you're gonna make me choose. I have to go with entrepreneurship from our economic wealth standpoint. But I think there's a lot of value in being a corporate executive, and like Professor Cash, and having your voice in the room. Because like I said, I still sit on some boards, the Symphony Board, and a homeowners association board, and some other boards. And without that corporate experience and our voice and our presence, we really would be isolated and kind of shut out. So there's a lot of value in that. People need to be in corporate to kind of shift that dynamic, make some of those changes. But I got to go with
Very good. Well, I'm going to, because we have a guest coming on, I'm going to hold one of the questions for our guest, our final question, and transition back to Ian.
That's fine.
Right. Yeah. So Myron, thank you for suggesting this interesting variation. We typically ask you to give advice to an imaginary 16-year-old Darryl, who we call, and tell us about this young man, Cory, who you befriended, it sounded maybe like 5 years ago. And just tell us a little bit about him because he is with you.
Yes. So Cory Williams is here. We went to lunch about 2 weeks ago, and I was telling him about this opportunity. I said I would ask my compatriots if they would mind him coming on. I met him. We used to sing in the choir together at church. I was an usher, and I still sing, so I still enjoy singing. And so he said, yeah, he would love to participate. So I gave him a little background about how we started 30 years ago, and this was our attempt. But you'll be quite surprised at how little has changed from the Rodney King situation to what he was talking about with George Floyd. Because when George Floyd happened, I was actually in Iraq, so I was hearing a lot of things on the news, trying to get a glean of what was going on here in America. But he shared a lot of thoughts about what he thinks about here in High Point, North Carolina, and his thoughts on some of those national issues. So I'll just let him speak for himself. His name is Cory Williams, and we met at Temple Memorial Baptist Church here in High Point.
Okay.
Wonderful.
He's a big tight end, so he's an athlete.
Wonderful.
You can take it now.
Hey, nice to meet y'all today.
Hey.
Oh,
Cory.
wonderful to meet you, young man.
How are you doing?
Thank you for joining us.
So,
Thank you for joining us.
oh, no problem. Thank you. It's great to be amongst you.
Yeah,
guys, successful men. It's good to talk to y'all today.
Well, Cory, the whole reason we are doing this show, frankly, is so that young men like you know that there are just slightly less young men like us who are as much in your sense of possibility as every other narrative that you might hear. And you should know that we have our own people that we look up to as well, because we're not necessarily all that, right? But part of why we created this was that we're sometimes concerned that there's a narrative out in the world of what is possible for young men, young Black men, to achieve. And so why don't we just I'd love to know a little bit about you and how you connected to Myron and why did that bond form between the two of you?
Okay, so actually we went to church together. My grandma's church actually. But Mr. Myron, like, he's an amazing man. He actually defined like the room without a roof. Like, the sky's the limit. He can tell you numerous of things, like he did, of how successful he is and how like anybody can be successful. It doesn't matter like your skin, how old you are. Like he said I was in the military. Stop. You know what I'm saying? Stop what he was doing, and he went up and went to get his doctorate. So it's pretty much like anything is possible. But me personally, I'm 19 years old. And I reside here in High Point, North Carolina. And I'm in school right now currently.
You're in school right now?
Yes, sir. I get But
That's A&T, North Carolina.
oh yeah, A&T. Oh yeah, A&T. That's A&T. Aggie Pride.
The number one HBCU in the country.
Yeah. But those are some things about me. Business. I'm a businessman, so business administration, and I minor in architecture and in interior design. So,
hey, Cory, come a bit closer to because we're having a little difficulty hearing you. Come a little closer.
Some difficulty hearing me. What part did you miss, sir? I'm sorry.
I heard great words like architecture.
Oh yeah, architecture and interior design. That's what I'm majoring in. So.
Excellent. So when are you scheduled to graduate?
I'll be graduating in the fall of 2023.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And what inspired you to study architecture and interior design?
It's just some things like here in High Point. High Point is like one of the, well, used to be the furniture capital of the world. Like, a lot of people don't know that, but that's something big here. And I consider myself kind of a visionary because I can see things that some people can't see. And I feel like with interior design, you can go into a situation not seeing anything, and like you can be the one that makes everything there. So I was like, that's something I would like to do. Like, I would like to be the overseer of the vision for somebody else. So
I love it.
So the question that I didn't ask Myron in our speed round was Jay-Z or Kanye, and I was holding that question because I want to. Which one do you prefer and why?
yeah, that's a hard one. That's a very hard question. But I would choose Jay-Z. Jay-Z. Because he's an overall entrepreneur. He's like amazing. He's amazing. He's amazing man overall. He had a successful career. And he's the owner of the team also. He has a great family. So those are all like huge aspects. And there's a lot of behind the scenes things that he does that people don't even know, which makes him an amazing guy, especially when it comes to us as Black people. You know, how he stands up and fights for the things that we all are interested in.
Wow.
So that's a great answer, Cory. So a follow-up question to that, because he's I mean, the success is incredible. Just this week, I think it was announced that I think Square is buying a majority stake in his Tidal. I think it's called Tidal. His Tidal music streaming business. But so there's a young man, didn't obviously come from privilege, but yet has achieved so much in America. And I sort of contrast that reality with sort of the narrative that I'm sure you hear on a regular basis that, systemic racism and white supremacy won't allow you to achieve all that's possible. And so as a young man, how do you compare what you see in front of you of the Jay-Z's and Kanye as well, who's got a great clothing company, and some of the narrative that sometimes comes out of some of these movements?
I honestly feel like for myself, I feel like the sky is the limit. So we can't sit here and just try to set the bar small. And it's like sometimes we look to like our rappers and our comedians and different guys like that to be like, oh yeah, that's what I want to be. But you can be anything, like literally anything. Like I'm sitting here talking to successful guys right now. That's how you know that the sky is the limit. So I can't sit here and say, well, I'm going to settle for something lesser of what I am, because that's going to freeze my mind and cause my mind not to be where I want it to be. It's like really how you surround yourself. And it's like when you're coming from nothing, it's like who you surround yourself with is who you're going to be. And it's like, okay, yeah, I may come from a poor neighborhood, but do I want to be poor? No, I want to be rich. Everybody wants to be rich. So you surround yourself with rich people so it changes your mindset. So it's all about what you want to do. It's not about what people are going to say you're going to do. It's about what you want to do. Each individual has their own ability to be anything. And that's why I think about myself. It's plenty of times where people tell me I wasn't going to be where like I wasn't even going to graduate high school. That's what people tell you all the time. You're not even going to make it to 18. That's something that we have to deal with every day being here in North Carolina. People tell you that all the time. But it's just the simple fact that I'm here now. And I'm doing it, and I'm going to continue to keep doing it because nobody's going to stop me from being successful. And that's the mindset that us as African-American males, women, everybody have to have, that we're going to be successful despite what anybody says. Because
Ian, I don't think we dare say anything else. We have to close the show on Cory's articulation of what's possible.
Cory, you are very inspiring.
you guys are inspiring. What y'all doing right now is inspiring. This is going to touch a lot of people. I'm so blessed to be able to talk to you guys.
Well, go ahead, Ian.
We're blessed to be talking to you, my friend. We have much to learn from you.
Oh, yeah. Right. Hey, but it trickles down. It trickles down. So everything that you guys know, y'all can pass it down to me so I can share it with others. So.
Cory, are you on LinkedIn?
Yes, sir, I actually am.
Okay, well, let's make sure we all connect on LinkedIn and have some additional conversations with you. We really appreciate you joining the show and adding a real sense of spirit and purpose around what we're trying to do. And again, your articulation was really exceptional.
I love the idea. Don't settle. Don't settle.
It's because it's like we got to think about the Bible, like God says, like if He's with us, then who's against us? So like, where do we settle for?
What? Oh my God! If he's with us, who's against us? What are we settling for?
What are we settling for? What are we settling?
All right. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, this may have just catapulted to the first place of all of the episodes that we have done.
Oh, thank you. It's such an honor. It's such an honor.
Corey,
Can't wait to get in touch with y'all also to talk more about this.
absolutely.
I've got to say one thing, Cory, and I said I wanted to leave it with you, but the other magical thing about life, young man, is when someday when you start a family, and I have a son and 2 daughters, and my purpose in life is to make sure that they're better than me in every possible way. And there's no greater joy I have in my life than making that to become a reality. And so think about all the things you're going to accomplish. And then someday, if you're blessed, you're going to do 2x that with your children.
10 times. 10 times.
10 times. 10 times.
Hey, it's just the simple fact that you didn't. Some people don't have it as great as other people. So it's like for me to be able to reach my peak and be able to give back. Like I already give back of what I have. I already give that back as much as I can, but to be able to give back on a bigger aspect would be amazing. That would be so amazing. I would love it. Not just myself, but for my family, everybody.
Oh my gosh. Well, Cory, you are an inspiration, hands down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Myron. Thank you, Cory. Thank you for participating in a great episode that embodies everything we were trying to do with the Invisible Men, because we want to let people know there are young men like you, Cory, who not only have dreams and aspirations, but you are determined to achieve them. And that is inspiring. So welcome. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Invisible Men. If you'd like to see all of the other episodes, just go to www.invisible.men. And so exciting. And Cory, thank you. And Myron, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching another episode of The Invisible Men. You can find other episodes at the AEI podcast channel on YouTube or the website invisible.men or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.